Thank you so much for coming. I want to thank the North Shore Center for the Performing Arts for hosting this so graciously accommodating. And I want to thank Iega and Nicole and the rest of Deeply Rooted as well for collaborating with us on this event. Just a little before we get started with the discussion, a little bit about Chicago Dance History Project. We are a 501c3 research organization dedicated to discovering, preserving, and presenting histories of dance in Chicago. We're building a digital archive from oral history interviews and events like this one. We're recording everything. So until that digital archive is available, please make sure to check us out online and through all forms of social media. And if you're interested, we have a mailing list over there. You are welcome to sign up for it as well. We're here to celebrate and the 20 years of Deeply Rooted Dance Theater and delve into that history a little bit. To my left is Kevin Iega Jeff, the co-founder and artistic director of Deeply Rooted, and Nicole Clarke-Springer, the dance education director for the company. And I thought that in lieu of kind of a laundry list introduction, I could start with a question that might help us get to know a little bit about their own history and then segue into the history of the company. Sound all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was wondering if both of you could talk about a significant lesson or experience in your own training that you've actively tried to incorporate into your work with the company.
Yeah. Good question. Before I answer that, I just want to first say thank you for coming and sharing this time with us. I want to thank the Chicago Dance History Project for spotting a light on us today. So we really appreciate it, and we're just really, really happy to be here. Gary Abbott is not able to join us, but he sends his love. He's doing some work at school with some students, which is a good thing. Now, I think the thing that struck me most, I think when I started to dance, I knew I wanted to move my body. I knew I wanted to do dynamic things with my body. But what I discovered when I began studying at Bernice Johnson Dance Studio was that my soul would be transformed and I would be challenged as a human being. I'd be challenged as a man. And specifically at that time, a young black man growing up and just really studying in an environment where I really was challenged to know who I was in creation. This is what my teacher would always say. Know who you are in creation, because we all are so special, and we have the opportunity in life to really find out what our special purpose is on this planet. And so when I began to study dance, I really didn't think that I didn't know that was going to happen. You know, I kind of thought I was going to become a star, as we call it. You know, I was going to become this kind of great dancer. And while studying, I really learned that really wasn't important to me. That what was really important to me was the process of being in the studio with people, the process of just sharing ideas, being challenged, and growing as a human being. So that really became, I think, my life's work inside of what it is I do now with Deeply Rooted and what it is I attempt to do in any place I go to share art, to share dance.
I would have to say for me, growing up in my training, I didn't have the luxury that I had with Bernice Johnson. I mean, and it wasn't a bad experience, it was a great experience, my upbringing. I'm a bunhead by nature. And ballet, exactly. You know, and I was always the only African American in the class. And I attended at Butler University, and it sounds like it's a negative experience, but actually it taught me, and I had the fortune of having a wonderful instructor who sat me down before leaving to go away to college, and she let me know that I've taught you well. You know everything you need to know. You have it right there. And so it forced me, I didn't even know, I don't think, realize that I had good instincts. My instincts were good. And so a lot of times I didn't have someone in front of me giving me clear direction, but I knew how to take direction. and go with it. I was also fortunate to have parents who gave what Bernice gave to Iega. It was in the home. So that part, I knew who I was in creation. I was always told who I was as an African American child, girl, woman growing up. So that was instilled with me and enforced every time I called home in tears. It was always reminding me who you are, who you are. And so once I got to Deeply Rooted, there was a connection that was so clear for me because it felt like home and it reinforced everything that my parents had taught me and allowed me to flourish even more. As I lose my costume here.
And so, briefly, can you tell us a bit about the inception of the company? What was the motivation behind it, and what were those core values that you wanted to explore through having a dance company?
Well, actually, my journey to Chicago came by way of Joseph Holmes Chicago Dance Theater. I had a company in New York called Jubilation Dance Company. We were at a precipice to go to an incredible level. So many things were about to happen to us, happen for us, and we ran smack into the AIDS epidemic. We lost our board chair, who was a man that was born to be a board chair. His name was Carlos Mills. We lost our booking agent, that was John Smith. This guy was incredible. He was born to do what he did. He taught me so much. I lost my artistic partner, Aaron Duggar, and we also lost a company member. So it was a lot of loss at that time, and it felt difficult to go on because what I learned clearly is that the infrastructure of a company are its people. Certainly the buildings matter, but for all of that to work, you have to have great people that keep it on track. So while we were primed to go to the next level and we lost all those folks, it just felt so heavy to continue. And I decided to kind of pull back, and I focused on continuing my work in New York with Jubilation Dance Company, but on a community level until I figured out what felt right. And during that time, I was approached by Joseph Holmes Chicago Dance Theater. They were looking for a new artistic director. They had been looking for an entire year, and I was actually the last person that they approached because they caught wind of my work, and we set up a few interviews, and they felt like I was a right fit for what they felt was needed in Chicago. So I came to Chicago and I directed Joseph Holmes for 1 year. I thought I'd do it longer, but the reality is that Joseph Holmes was a 21-year-old organization with a really wonderful history, but it was going through that difficult period, which I believe happens when you become, aside from the fact Joseph Holmes himself passed away, which was very difficult for the company. Then they had a wonderful artistic director, Randy, who took on the reins for, I'm not exactly sure how many years, but he had the company right before I took it over. And there was some type of internal strife, essentially, that occurred during that period. So there was a need for a totally kind of new vision that could somehow connect to the old in terms of the aesthetic, but it needed a new vision, so I was that guy, okay? I came to Chicago, the intent was to do it for a long time, but what was real is that the 21-year history had its own vision. And even though we talked about it and we shared the compatibility, it really ended up not being compatible. And so we parted ways, and in parting ways, Gary Abbott, myself, Linda Spriggs, Diane Schober, we said, what the hell are we gonna do now? And we decided that we would co-found, with a little bit more purpose than that, but we decided that we would co-found Deeply Rooted, and hence we're now 20 years old. So Deeply Rooted's mission is it's so simple. We're all human beings, We're all looking to be the best people that we can possibly be. This art form is a way for us to connect with each other and to exercise our values and our connections in creation. So we just try to keep an authentic environment inside of the work we do. We have a philosophy, you are what you dance. So the work that we do, choose to dance, we hope that it helps to evolve us as people. And we also hope that it helps to take our audience on a journey where you feel like you're entertained, but then you also feel touched and a little different when you leave the theater. So that's about the essence of what we do. Do you want to add anything?
And can you recall maybe a key decision or choice that you made early on in the leadership of the company that has maybe helped foster its longevity?
Yeah, I'm thinking of Alvin Ailey right now because I went through the Ailey School. Two important mentors. Bernice Johnson, certainly a powerful mentor of mine. She's an unsung hero of dance. I could mention many names of students who've come through her school that you would know. You've seen their work over and over and over again. So this little school in Jamaica, Queens, has given the world so much of its, just so much. I'll just leave it there. We'll be here for a very long time if I open up that can of worms. But I had a conversation with Alvin, 2 conversations with Alvin, and he talked about the beauty of what he created and the pain of what he created, and how difficult it was to really, as a company grows and the needs for to sustain, to have enough money to sustain what you're doing, you get pulled away from the essence. You can get pulled away from why you do the work. And so I had several conversations with Alvin where it was clear to me he loved what he had created, but it was also a burden to him. And it was a burden to him because of what it takes to keep the work going, And we talked about that. We pulled back some of the layers on that. And that conversation became very important because what was clear to me was I didn't want to recreate what Alvin's model was. I wanted to try to learn what would be the next evolution to really create a company where all people involved are on a journey, so that if you're in the process as a dancer and you're being asked to grow, and also you're in the process as a person participating on staff or participating on the board, or giving whatever it is that you're giving that as part of a community where it is informing you about your own humanity and how you can evolve. Because then we're bringing resources to something where it's a level, as a human and a level playing field, so we don't get into the hierarchy of things and what can happen to art when that begins to happen. So that's something I've been working on, I don't want to do this and not be a happy person. It's not worth it. I do this because I love people. We do it because we love people. So that conversation was critical for me.
Sounds like it. Okay, I'm going to ask 1 or 2 more questions, and then hopefully we'll have some time for your questions. I know you have them. Consider this your warning. I've got 1 or 2 more in me. So I want to talk for a minute about the dance language of Deeply Rooted. And I'd love to hear from either or both of you on this. What kind of movement vocabulary was the company founded on, and how has that remained or evolved over time? And maybe even too, I was wondering if you could even guide us for certain things we might look for tonight that would point back to those influences.
Okay, I'm gonna let Nikki start.
I think the company's rooted in African technique. And then from there, the basis of it all grows into the modern Horton, Graham, and your ballet. That's the core of it, is moving from your center in a grounded way, in an African-based dance way. Tonight, at least for my piece, Femme, because I am such a bunhead, I incorporate that. You have to see a lot of the ballet technique, but it's African-based. The dancers have to come and be weighted and know how to use that weight, the same as they would, I believe, in ballet. Ballet's not just lifted and up, there's a weight to it. If you see any great ballerina, she understands that there's a weight that has to happen inside of the lightness of it all. And you also see the techniques of Horton and Graham inside of the choreography as well. Pretty much from the technical aspect of it, but the language is very approachable. It's human. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just a human way of moving. It's very accessible. You know, it's very it's a theater. We're dance theater. We're not just the company. There's a theatrical way about it. There's a human way of approaching our movement. I think.
Yeah, we're definitely rooted in African techniques and African approach to dance. Yet an African approach to dance is also represented by the diaspora, so that African dance is not monolithic. It's as varied as it is the different cultures that are represented on earth. You know, if you understand the relationships of the Moors to the creation of ballet, then you know that there's a strong African connection to the creation of ballet. If you understand, I love Martha Graham, you know, and when you understand what it was that motivated her to dance and how she looked east to find her voice as well, then you know that there's a connection to Asia. You know that there's a connection to Africa. If you know Lester Horton and you know his influence, how he was moved and influenced by Native American traditions and culture, you know that there is a richness to what he experienced as a white American looking towards Native American culture to develop that beautiful and wonderful technique that he developed. So the wonderful thing about the arts is that we didn't create a construct that keeps us apart. You see, we have a construct that brings us together, because when we see something that is wonderful and beautiful, we're going to connect to each other, and we're going to consider that an opportunity to dig in and to build relationship. So the movement that you'll see is representative of whatever vocabularies we feel we have access to, and the techniques that we feel we have access to express that communication. Whether it's an aesthetic expression, whether it's a dramatic expression, whatever it is, we're looking to train ourselves as diversely as possible in a way that helps us communicate the ideas and the theater that we're looking to share with you this evening.
I lied, I have two more actually. Nicole, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the role that education plays within Deeply Rooted as an organization, and even how that might contribute to maintaining your own history within the organization over the last 20 years.
No, that's really a good one for me. I came in as the very first summer intensive program with Deeply Rooted Dance Theater. I was a very young dancer. But no, and coming through that process and then matriculating through the company, it's, in my opinion, fitting that I'm now the Dance Education Summer Intensive Program Director. And it's so important, that component, to Deeply Rooted, because we are about reaching out. And I think that's where the longevity for the company happens, is that it's not just about the dance, it's not just about the technique. What makes it special is that we connect to you by spirit. And by each individual student that comes in, I let them know that it's so important that whatever you discover about yourself, and through the 4 weeks that you're with me for the summer intensive, you're going to find if you hate dance or you love it, but you're going to feel something by the time you leave here. And that little door to your spirit is going to open up. And then you're going to take whatever it is that ignites inside of you and you take it to your community. And you feel so great about how you feel about your art and your voice that you're building. You're going to encourage others to do so. So that's what the dance education component, why it's so important, because it builds our community. Our roots get long and they grow and they start to extend throughout different communities. And now you're deeply rooted. You're rooted with us. And that's the importance of it for me as a dance education director.
Yeah, my sister Laverne, my older sister, would always say to me, keep your back pockets full. And what she meant by that was continue to teach and create and develop, help new dancers develop. Because they're gonna go on, and they should go on to other aspirations. So that when we train them, they're not our dancers, we don't own them. You know, we train them so that they can make choices in the world, and we hope that they consider this a home base for them, that they can go and come back to. So I love that part, because it took me a minute to get over that, because this, you know, it's hard to train people and then they go, you know, because you just, okay, I want to do this ballet next year, and then they're gone, and then you have to get some new folks up in there. So the apparatus of training is really, really critical, and I have found it to be rich because they always come back if they have an authentic experience. So you don't have to worry about holding on to people if you love them right and you're honest and you support them. They always go and they always decide to come back because they know it feels right. And so that's a wonderful thing. And when they come back, they bring brilliance with them. So I become a student when they come back. We become better when they come back. I love the fact that, like, our model now, we've shifted it because we really wanted something that would work more organically. So now we have a roster structure where we have dancers that are committed to the mission of the company and committed to studying inside of the process. And we may have 20 dancers on contract for that year on the roster, and maybe we'll hire 10 dancers for a particular project during that year, and another 10 dancers or 15 dancers or whatever. And I find it's really been rich because they come back and they really want to be there, you know, and that's been a wonderful experience. So we hope to deepen that and to make it even better as we continue to grow.
I have one more that kind of follows up on these answers too. One of the things we're trying to do with the project is really consider specificity of place. And a 20-year existence also means a 20-year relationship with the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
And finding communities and building those communities, using it as a home base. So I'm wondering if you can reflect on that 20-year relationship with the city.
You answer that.
You want to answer that? That's a really good question.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm really understanding my relationship now to the city of Chicago. I have some really good friends, and some of them I'm looking at right now. People who have helped me grow. When I came here, I have to be honest and say that I kind of got off the plane into assumptions and history that were hurtful. And because I had nothing to do with it, and I was young, and it hurt my feelings, you know? And I was trying to just get this dance company together, and all this other stuff was kind of coming from these different angles, and my feelings were hurt. So I had to figure that out. And I think I have figured it out. Oh, sorry, yeah, I think I have figured it out. And I am really loving Chicago. I don't like cold weather, but I do love Chicago. And I love what's happening inside of the community. The thing that I think Chicago has an opportunity, because I'm from New York, and New York has a wonderful and vibrant art scene and dance world, which is great. And I think Chicago has a wonderful and vibrant art scene, which I think is also great. And I think it has its own voice, its own very, very unique voice. And I am excited about that. And I'm excited about the work that's beginning to happen to foster conversations that are authentic and will help us to kind of really understand the wealth of voices that are within this community. So I've gone from having hurt feelings to getting over myself to working to build relationship while keeping a company going, which can be distracting and all of that, to building relationship into a place now where our community is strong enough. So it's not just about me, by the way, it's about us. So we have a lot of hands in it now, so I can begin to give my attention to other things. And I'm really enjoying being on the other side of that now. So that was a hard question.
I'm sorry. That's my job. Anyone else have a hard question or easy question they'd like to ask Iega? Yeah.
It's a very easy one. After tonight, where can we see you?
Okay.
So she asked, after tonight, where can you see Deeply Rooted?
Well, the next project we're working on is with a choreographer from South Africa. His name is Fana Shabalala. and he's going to be choreographing a work. We've actually moved the date to August. And so the next time you can see us will be in a preview of that work here in Chicago in the fall, then followed by a premiere next November. All right, so you're really looking at, if you want to see our summer dance intensive, which is incredible, there's a performance that will happen in July. Then the company will do a preview in September of the new work that's by the choreographer Fana, and then we'll premiere it in November. So it's kind of you got kind of a window there. All right. Us too. You take that.
Well, I came to the company by accident, actually. I was actually on my way to New York, had a down payment put down on an apartment, and a friend of mine gave me a flyer for this audition. And I thought, okay, I'll just go because I need to take class. And, no, seriously, that was my thought. And I got there, and we were worked in such a frenzy that the mirrors fogged up. And I remember this man, massive man, his arms are this long, and something inside of me said, "You're never leaving." And so I'm like, I run home and I tell my mother, I'm staying. She's like, okay, great, who's paying for the apartment? So, fast forward, I trained with the summer intensive program. I decide to stay, dance with the company. I get married, and I get a phone call while I'm in Bowling Green, Kentucky, from Kevin Iega Jeff saying, hey, would you like to run the summer intensive program? And before I knew it, without even discussing with your other partner, my husband, I was like, yes. I am there. And so this was my 10th year. This past summer, it's been 10 years I've been the dance education summer intensive program director. And then when I was asked to join Kevin Iega Jeff and Gary Abbott and sit between them on an artistic team, I was very honored. I was very extremely honored. And so we've been together for a long time.
Yes. I have to tell you, Nikki, just real quick, she invited me to lunch. She said, this is the early and deeply rooted history. And she said, I love what we're doing so much, I just want to give you a present. And she didn't know that this was a very, very difficult day. So she pulled out this little jar, and in that jar she gave me a jar of mustard seeds. And she said, this is what I envision for Deeply Rooted. It's a mustard seed, and I see it growing and blossoming in so many ways. And I was like, dang, she gave me these mustard seeds. I feel so responsible and all of that. But now I can't, now I have to do this. But I have to say, her spirit, please don't take that word lightly when you speak of this woman. Her spirit and her wisdom and her generosity and her friendship is so enriching to me and so enriching to Gary. I love you very, very much. We are blessed to have her.
Yeah.
Where do you see the arts playing a role, specifically the genre of dance, in terms of kind of community?
I think the arts have an opportunity to step up, to really, I think that we are a microcosm of the world that we're living in the arts. And I think that we've been challenged to speak our authentic voice about things that we're really concerned about. And now I think we're in a community, the world is challenged in that way, and I think we can help it along if we're honest about what we're feeling and we're willing to open ourselves and bare our souls. So I think I wasn't surprised that Donald Trump was elected president, and my feeling is that it's a gift. To be honest with you, I think it's a gift. Many people feel many different things, and I can't make any assumption that anybody feels the same here, positive or negative or whatever. That's not where I'm coming from. I am saying that there's an opportunity for us to respond with our spirits intact about what we feel, with integrity, with honesty, and with accountability. We're all human here, and we all have to share this planet. And I think that artists can play a role in helping us really build bridges to each other, and I think that's a great opportunity.
That was a great quote. Okay, one more, yeah, Kim.
Can you talk a little bit about your work in the community aside from your professional?
Okay. I'm going to tell you about a project we're about to start, which I'm very excited. I mentioned the choreographer from South Africa. He's creating a work called Ndumba. Ndumba are African healing huts, so it becomes a metaphor for the unresolved issues of the apartheid, of apartheid. And when I saw the work in South Africa in 2013, it was mesmerizing because it was so compassionate and so human. It just spoke, you just left with goosebumps, you know, you just left changed. So that work is going to be previewed in a partnership that we're starting with the West Pullman Park District community. We're beginning a training program there this spring where we're going to bring dance to that community, a community that's really kind of, it doesn't have access to public transportation, so you have a lot of kids that don't have access to the arts. And we're going to go there, we're building a dance program, and they're going to be involved in the Ndumba project as a mechanism for exposure and study. And then we're going to partner starting this fall with 2 other Park District locations. And the whole objective is to begin to have a network of locations that will be partnering with Deeply Rooted in various communities around Chicago. So I'm really excited about that because we were hoping to, again, partner is the word. One of the challenges we've had is when you're working in a, we were successful in working in the Chicago public schools, but we weren't able to do the work that we really wanted to do because of the nature of the structure. So the Park District enables us to do something which is more in keeping with what it is we envision, and so we're very, very excited about that. Another thing is that we do have a relationship.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the Old Town School of Folk Music, okay, is a place where we have a project called the Emerging Choreography Showcase, and they've been partnering with us now for 3 years, I believe it's been, and we're going into our 4th year with that partnership, and so that's another example of what we do. There, they give us space so that we can create new works, and we do various exchanges in the course of the residency, and it's been an incredible, incredible partnership, so thank you for that. But it's sweet.
Okay, unfortunately, we're out of time if you want to see some dance tonight, and I know you do. But I want to thank you all for joining us, and I want to thank Iega and Nicole for sharing your time and your thoughts with us. And you are also a part of Chicago dance history. We'll be out here in the lobby during intermission documenting some of that. So find us, and if you want to know more, our mailing list is right at the entrance to the theater. Thank you so much.
How long have you been coming to see Deeply Rooted or involved with it?
This is actually my first show in about 5 or 6 years. I haven't seen Deeply Rooted in a long time. As a matter of fact, Josh, who's one of the male dancers, used to be my student when he was in high school. And when he got out of high school, he started training with Deeply Rooted, and I came to see him in the show.
Awesome. Okay, so you've obviously known Deeply Rooted for a long time. So what is one of your favorite moments or things that you've seen or been a part of with Deeply Rooted?
You mean as in tonight or period over time?
Like over time. Period over time.
Well, I mean, I've always loved, I used to teach at a performing arts high school in Gary, Indiana called Emerson. And Deeply Rooted used to come there and do a lot of workshops, do a lot of classes. And then I've seen a lot of those kids like end up training with, and a few of them end up in the company. And so I've loved seeing how Deeply Rooted no pun intended, stays deeply rooted in the community, and they stay connected, and they stay influential in young dancers from all over the city, and the way they basically promote them through the ranks of dance into professional companies. So Deeply Rooted has made contemporary dancing to a lot of young African Americans a real tangible thing, and I think that's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Not a problem.
Yeah, when I lived in Chicago, I used to actually be on the advisory board for Deeply Rooted, and I worked in arts funding with the Chicago Community Trust, and Deeply Rooted was one of our grantees. So, yeah, known Deeply Rooted for some time.
So have you seen this particular show before?
I actually have, because now I'm in a different capacity, and we're one of the sponsors for the show tonight, and very proud to do so because of the work, the integrity, and the messaging that Deeply Rooted wants to portray and connect their audience with. So,
do you have a particular moment of this one that you like the best or touches you the most?
I think they're all very powerful, but I'm a little biased. That I really love Jagged Ledges and the messaging. I mean, I'm with the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, so the messaging of really connecting audiences, new and old audiences, to the plight of those living with HIV and AIDS, and to help to reduce some of the stigma and judgment around those living with HIV and AIDS. I think it's really powerful to use dance as a mechanism to help to work through that. So I love that piece, and but I love all their work. I mean, I think it's just the movement, the messaging, the spirit that you really feel from Deeply Rooted is very powerful.
I agree a lot. I think that's pretty much all we needed, unless you have anything else you'd like to add.
Yeah, I love your project.
Thank you.